Hello everyone, welcome to Screen Junkies News. Well, a Star Trek fan film has moved to a jury trial. We're going to be explaining what that means and also what it means for fan films in general. Had to have with me two of the biggest Trekkers around, Dan Murrell, Charlie Feldman. How's it going?
Good.
Trekkers.
Is that right? I
Trekkers, well, there was a movement where Trekkies
right?
felt like that Trekkie was a little derogatory and they preferred
amazing.
Trekker.
I
I don't
we got
mind
it right.
Trekkie, but either one.
Okay.
They're both
Trekkie,
accurate.
Trekkers.
It's the same thing.
Trek fans. I don't know. But before we get into it, first off, I want to say, Dan, happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I forgot because I didn't know it was your birthday in the earlier video. But
talk about Star Trek. What better way to celebrate,
Yay,
right?
Awesome. So, Dan, let's start with you then. Tell me about this Axanar fan film. What is it?
So this is the analogy that I kind of put out is not in tone, but it's basically if instead of Disney making Rogue One, a bunch of fans said, we're going to make Rogue One. It's the story that kind of goes back to the original series about the Federation and the Klingon War and kind of the time between that when before they made peace. You know, it's a period of Star Trek lore that really hasn't been covered extensively by any other show or movie. It involves some obscure characters from Star Trek mythology, but it's largely an original story, kind of a deep dive into this Klingon Federation relations. So, it's not Captain Kirk or Captain Picard or the Enterprise. It's set in the Star Trek universe, but it's a different story, more of a historical drama almost, the basic premise of it at least.
Right, so it was a fan film. The money was raised on Kickstarter, and Charlie, they raised a lot of money.
They raised $1.2 million on Kickstarter. And I think that's when sirens went off, because not only did they make that much money through the Kickstarter, they also are using very, very professional materials, people who have been involved in Trek, actors who have been involved in Trek. And that's when people started going, well, at Paramount started having flames coming out of both sides of their faces, because even though Trek has an extremely long history of allowing fan films to exist, there are so many fan films and fan series out there. This one is different because of the money and because it's so similar to the properties that are coming up. Similar to the movies, maybe, but I think similar to the TV show coming up that's going to be on digital.
Right, so there might be some confusion
in the
from
marketplace,
other fans about who has made this movie or what. And Dan, you actually met the people who made this film.
Well, we did. A couple years ago, we went and filmed the ScreenJunkies show with some real Star Trek props. And the guys who had that warehouse also were some of the guys behind this film. So they were showing, at that time, it's called Prelude to Axanar, which is basically their proof of concept piece.
It's like a 20-minute proof of concept.
Okay.
It is. It's very long, very detailed. That was kind of selling the idea of what the show is going to be. And I mean, the guys were super nice. Obviously, very passionate about Star Trek. Huge Star Trek fans. You could tell that they were very proud to be kind of launching something this ambitious. And, now obviously I think they bit off a little more than they bargained for, because Paramount really came down pretty swiftly on them, which, as Charlie alluded to, it is kind of surprising because, there are fan shows that are episodes that have Kirk and Spock and George Takei has been in these shows.
Right.
Walter Koenig, who played Chekhov, has been in these shows, and they're very well done. They are very popular, but they never had the resources that the Axanar guys are able to raise for their movie. And so I think that's what tipped it over, was the fact that this is the biggest fan production that's ever been mounted for a Star Trek fan film.
And directly because of it, they released 10 rules. Paramount directly was like, okay, we got to let people know what they can and cannot do. And some of them are, honestly, I think are pretty reasonable to, for conflict in the marketplace, but others are kind of impossible. If you have a feature-length anything or anything of substance, you have to hire a crew. So one of the rules is you can't hire professionals, you cannot pay them. So why I'm on the panel is I did a Kickstarter for a GEM fan film, and we did it 4 days. We only raised $12,000, not $1.2 million, but we had to pay people.
Yeah.
Because people aren't just going to show up and do their talent and their art for free. And some of the guidelines are very scary for future fan films.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, some of the guidelines I get. I understand, for example, the guidelines saying that you must have a Star Trek fan production prominently displayed. I understand that. I understand that makes total sense. I understand the idea of that you have to credit that Star Trek and related marks are owned by CBS Studios. I understand that. That makes sense. Where I think they went over the line, and I remember reading these when they came out, things like fan productions have to use commercially available Star Trek uniforms and merchandising. So you can't make your own accessories. You have to buy what's available. Which is like, that just seems like, well, wait, now that's just a money grab.
And I would think that would be even more of a conflict if you're using stuff that looks exactly like
but they don't. That's the thing, they don't. Like the stuff that's commercially available, they look like toys, most of them.
Yeah.
Like that's the fun thing is these fans, they spend hours building screen accurate replicas of communicators and phasers and uniforms, sewing them from scratch.
With their heart.
Their heart. They put heart and soul into this to make it look like just the show. And Paramount coming in and saying like, well, no, you can't do that. You have to buy the Halloween costumes that we have available. That's where I think that you go over the line. They have, content restrictions. You can't use this. You can't have this. If it's offensive, well, who's to say what's offensive? Well, we decide what's offensive. That's where I think it's overstepping. I understand that you have to protect your brand, but some of these are just really like, you can't make anything that costs more than $50,000. You have to make it less than 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like that's
Even if it's
where,
a series, it can't be a series longer than 30 minutes all told, altogether.
Right.
It's really very limiting, and
you can't distribute it as a Blu-ray or a DVD. That is where I think you overstep.
And these guidelines, as you said, only came out after
Exactly.
Axanar. So with this lawsuit was filed a year ago, but now it seems like they're very serious about it with it going to actual jury trial.
In May, J.J. Abrams was at an event. You were there?
I was there, yeah.
And he basically said, like, we don't want to do this to fans. It sets a bad precedent. Don't worry about it. We're just going to throw it out. And he had apparently no authority to do so because here we are. They're going to jury trial.
Wow.
And it's terrifying for anyone who's looking forward to doing fan films with their, be they amateur or professional, stories that they know they'll never see, and they might never get the chance to do it.
Yeah.
I've been following Axanar very closely because of Gem and the holograms. The fan film we're doing truly outrageous because we know that they could at any point send us a cease and desist at any point. But we put our heart into it. We've been working on it for a year, and this is scary. This is a scary precedent.
And it's not unprecedented for there to be a coexisting relationship. Lucasfilm, way before Disney bought them, but even now continuing on, I know that one of the commitments that Disney made was that we're going to continue this relationship. But George Lucas and Lucasfilm, back as far as the 80s and 90s, fully embraced fan films and said, do what you want. We're not going to put any restriction on you. We'll help you. Yeah. We'll help you make your fan film. And so for Star Trek to be kind of clamping down on this is very tough, but it is a fine line. I agree there shouldn't be free reign.
Yeah.
I think Axanar is not right now, unless Paramount knows something that we don't, this is not a for-profit venture.
It's absolutely not for profit. They're super clear on their website. It's not for profit. They do pay people because they're working people working on a film. But yeah, they're not profiting from it.
They're ambitious. They're putting together an ambitious fan film out of love for Star Trek, out of love for the material. They're not looking to profit from it. I don't think they should be punished because they were able to garner the kind of support to make a fan film on a scale that nobody's seen before.
Yeah, I think the fact that they raise so much money shows that fans out there really want to see their concept. It's going to be interesting to see how it all washes out, not just for Star Trek, Trekkies, Trekkers, but also for fan films in general, like you were saying, Charlie. So Dan Murrell, Charlie Feldman, thank you so much for joining me. And make sure you click over here, yes, I got it right, to look for more from Screen Junkies News. Subscribe, like, and comment, and follow us on Twitter at SJ News, and we will see you soon. Bye. Oh, bye. Did I do it?